So let's start. We have some important news which are important for mains, not just for prelims. Criminalization of politics and criminals entering into politics, corrupt people entering into politics, gundas and mafia entering into politics is a common phenomenon. As you all know, Election Commission of India will take the data of criminal antecedents and property of all MPs and MLAs. As per the official record, there are 1,581 cases pending in the higher courts regarding legislators in India. 1,581 cases right now. To speed up the trial for all these cases, in order to expedite the prosecution of legislators, 12 fast-track courts were created now. 12 fast-track courts. Delayed justice is nothing but denied justice. Delayed justice is nothing but denied justice. When there is a case filed on any person, he is called accused. If the evidence is proved, if the court says that he has done something wrong, he is called convict. He is called convict. Otherwise, if his innocence is proved, he is called an acquittal. Once our netas are innocent, people can trust them. But just because there is a case on them, we cannot say that they are at fault. Sometimes cases might be filed based on unnecessary allegations or to take some revenge. As you all know, Section 8, Clause 4 of Representation of Peoples Act 1951 earlier says, if a legislator gets convicted by a lower court, if he appeals to the higher court within 3 months, he can continue as a legislator. But in 2013, in Lily Thomas case and Jan Chowkidari case, in Lily Thomas case and Jan Chowkidari case, when a legislator is convicted for an offence by a lower court, which is punishable for 2 years or more, even though he appeals, he has to vacate the seat. He has to vacate the seat. Legislator includes ministers, CMs, PMs, anyone who is MP or MLA or MLC. As you all know, Jayalalitha, being a CM of Tamil Nadu in 2013, after Lily Thomas judgment, gave way to O. Pannirselvam and she went to jail. Even though she has appealed to the Supreme Court, if the offence is punishable, if she is convicted for more than 2 years, then they have to vacate the legislator's seat. One by one, progressively, Supreme Court and Election Commission of India, they are taking prompt decisions to minimize criminals entering into politics. To minimize criminals entering into politics and to cleanse the politics. in the electoral reforms, you might get this essay, or in GS paper 2, you have a topic called Salient Features of Representation of Peoples Act. In GS paper 2, in your syllabus, in mains, not in prelims, you have a topic called Salient Features of Representation of Peoples Act. There you might get this question on criminals entering into politics, what steps the government have taken, or what are the guidelines that Supreme Court have given. In that you have to write section 8 clause 4 of RP Act 1951. Section 8 allows appeals, and after appeal they can continue their seat, whereas Lily Thomas Jan Chowkidari judgments, this was discontinued. And then the recent move, 15 days back, Supreme Court gave directions to the central government to speed up the trials of politicians and legislators. Now, central government and Supreme Court decided to establish fast track courts, 12 fast track courts, to speed up the trials relating to the legislators, where 1581 criminal cases are pending. This is a very good gesture for a progressive democracy in India. The Asian Development Bank have given Asian Development Outlook. The Asian Development Bank have given the Asian Development Outlook. India's growth rate have been predicted as 6.7 now. Earlier, it has predicted that India's growth rate will be 7%. Now, it was decreased to 6.7. As you all know, in most of the economy articles, GST and demonetization. In the same way, most of the predictions also decreased India's growth rates this year. World Bank earlier predicted 7.2%, and now it was decreased to 7%. Even World Bank have decreased the India's predicted growth rate. And Asian Development Bank headquarters are located at Philippines, Manila, ADB headquarters. For prelims perspective, a new index have come, Logatum Prosperity Index 2017, LOGATUM, LOGATUM, Logatum Prosperity Index 2017. In this, it is a London based institute. It gives ranking based on countries' wellness in economy and other stabilities. India's rank is 100 out of 149. India's rank is 100 out of 149. Logatum Prosperity Index. India's ranking is 100 out of 149. Logatum is a London based institute. Okay, and it will also guess the changing prosperity levels across the world. The changing prosperity levels across the world. Logatum Prosperity Index. Central government recently announced for TB patients, it will give 500 rupees every month as a supportive measure, so that they can afford good food and other facilities. For TB patients, central government promised 500 rupees per month. Coming to the editorial today, revival risks. Revival risks. This editorial is on Indian economy. Revival risks. As we all know, Indian economy growth rates have bounced back this quarter. Last quarter it is 5.7%. This quarter it is 6.3%. In the ease of doing business index, World Bank's ease of doing business index, Indian economy have shown much improvement from 130 to 100. Now India's ranking is 100. And Moody's ratings, India is now a stable economy with BAA2 marking. With BAA2 marking. Ranking is BAA2. In spite of all these things, the same repetitive factors, GST hiccups, demonetization hiccups, 7th pay commission issues, low growth rate in manufacturing sector, very low growth rate in manufacturing sector, increasing the prices of consumer non-durables, increase of the prices of consumer non-durables, slow pace of growth in agriculture in spite of stable monsoon, very regular monsoon. All these things still are very risky, and Indian economy has a long way ahead towards a positive effect in the next 1 year. So just bouncing back of growth from 5.7% to 6.3%, or bettering the things without increasing the manufacturing sector and agriculture and even most of the consumer goods, will not yield good results to India. What we need is, for the next 1 year, we should be very cautious in Indian economy. As you all know, the fundamentals of Indian economy are very strong. Saving state, agriculture, banking system, except the present NPA problem, non-performing asset problem. Even today we can say the fundamentals of Indian economy are very strong. Though sometimes we flout, not sometimes, regularly we flout with FRBM targets, still Indian economy is in strong hands. There is no need to worry, but we should be very cautious. Next important article is IR article, looking for balance in power. Looking for balance in power. As we all know, 1 month back, Quad was formed in East Asia Summit. Quad meeting was also held. India, Australia, Japan and US. Quadrilateral group, India, Australia, Japan and US. From last 1 month, on an average, at least in 1 or 2 newspapers every day, there is a mention about Quad. Quad is inevitable for the IR students this time. Coming back, as we have discussed 2 days back, RIC, Russia, India, China, 15th summit was held at New Delhi. RIC, Russia, India, China, 15th summit was held at New Delhi. Many years back, in the world, in the Asian region, there is an idea called TRIOCA. In the Asian region, there is an idea called TRIOCA. TRIOCA means 3 countries coming together. RIC. It was even proposed by Russian Prime Minister in 2009. A regional or Asian triangle or a regional triangle. If you see Russia, China, India, they can form a very good triangle called TRIOCA. From last 15 to 20 years, the idea of TRIOCA is in the offing. But all the three countries have diversified interests. India's interests are different. China's interests are different. Russia's interests are different. So, though there was an idea, it did not get materialized. We have 15 summits of RIC. In the 15th summit, they have discussed about many common issues including terrorism, economic issues, economic prosperity, terrorism, security, they have discussed. But this RIC should be very strong. India cannot completely rely on America, cannot completely trust on America. Russia, India and China, if they can forge a better tie and better strong cemented relationship, they can decide and play a decisive role. They can decide and play a decisive role in most of the matters in the region, in the world. They can easily counter America. They can easily counterbalance America. Russia indirectly asked India to join in China's BRI. Russia almost asked India, we understand India's concerns, but it is better to India to join in BRI. But Indian sovereign interests are against BRI. As you all know, Gilgit-Baltistan region, India cannot enter into CPEC and BRI because India's sovereign interests come first. And second thing, China friendship with Pakistan. Third thing, Russia's diversified interests till date. Today, Russia have a lot of interests, various interests. It looks fairy and dreamy to expect a trioca, RIC very strong. But in practical sense, they have to come out of their differences and should form a consensus group. Otherwise, it will become a rhetoric. It will become a routine without any significance. A new balance of power in the world can be formed if RIC becomes a strong group. We can visualize that balance can shift from America to RIC if RIC is very strong, because economically, geographically, politically, these three countries have a major say, even population wise. These three countries have a major say in the world systems, economically, politically and geographically. So better if they come together, they can counter American hegemony in world politics. This is the content of the article. Next important article is on Theresa May, Britain. As you all know, Article 50 of Lisbon Treaty was triggered. Article 50 of Lisbon Treaty was triggered. Brexit process started. In June 2016, people in UK voted in favor of exit from the European Union. Regarding bargaining chips, what are the modalities that will take place when UK is coming out of European Union? There was a bill in the British Parliament. In House of Commons, the Theresa May's party, Conservative Party, some of the rebels in Conservative Party, they joined the Labour Party and other members and voted in favor of more powers to Parliament and less prerogatives to the executive in dealing with the new deal of EU and UK. That means Parliament will have a more say from now regarding the terms and conditions of UK with EU in future, rather than executive, that is the Theresa May and her ministers deciding everything. Parliament will decide majority of the things. British Parliament will have a prerogative to decide majority of the things. This is the core of the things. It was a setback to Theresa May now. because Theresa May expected something, it has happened some different thing. Next important article is on disaster management in India. Disaster management and India. As you all know, there was a cyclone, Oki cyclone. Oki cyclone. The article is very critical about India's disaster management. Disasters are inevitable. We can never stop a disaster. We can never stop a disaster because most of the disasters are God-made. Tsunami, earthquake, cyclones, floods, mankind cannot stop. The only thing which is in our hands is to manage the disaster effectively so that we can mitigate the damage caused by the disaster. To manage the disaster effectively so that we can mitigate the damage caused by the disaster. As you all know, disaster management is a cycle. If possible, prevention, mitigation, rescue, search and rescue, rehabilitation, resettlement. The entire thing is a process. And in India, after December 25th, 2004 tsunami, we had a National Disaster Management Act 2005. For the first time, we had a separate law for disaster management called Disaster Management Act 2005. National Disaster Management Authority was constituted. National Disaster Management Force and Disaster Management Battalions were constituted. National Disaster Management Fund was constituted. And in 2016, National Disaster Management Plan was unveiled, very important for the exam. In 2016, National Disaster Management Plan was unveiled. And in this plan, it was based on Sendai framework. The National Disaster Management Plan, which was unveiled by Modi government, it was based on Sendai, S-E-N-D-I, Sendai framework. Instead of advancement in all the fields, in spite of having a lot of support, India failed in managing Oki cyclone. Even today, most of the dead bodies are still floating. People in the area are suffering. If dead bodies are not timely removed from the place, there is a heavy chance of deadly diseases. There might be an attack of deadly diseases. Disaster management is a skill. And as you all know, we should prepare for the disasters. India is vulnerable for many disasters. Drought, earthquake, tsunami, cyclone, floods. As you all know, Uttarakhand disaster. Cyclones, floods are very common in India. Next important article is BJP in Gujarat. This is purely political article, not even political science article. You need not bother about this. Any win, any victory will be very marginal. Any party might win, the victory will be very marginal. It won't be a landmark victory for one political party. And the last important article is Alabama Governor, Mr. Moore. Trump supported him. Democrats won the elections in governor post in Alabama. Democrats won it, not Mr. Moore. Moore's last sigh. This is the heading. So these are the important current affairs.